If you have looked at your syllabus recently and immediately felt a sense of heaviness or frustration, you are not alone. Maybe you are wondering, why does studying feel so difficult all of a sudden? Just a month ago, you were attending classes, completing assignments, and preparing for exams. Now, even getting started feels like a struggle. So, what changed? Did you become lazy? Did you suddenly lose your intelligence? Or did you somehow lose your ability to learn over the vacation? No, certainly not. The real reason is much more interesting, and this comes through the powerful feature of a brain called the neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to physically change and adapt based on how you use it. The problem is, you trained the brain for the wrong reason during vacation. What you're experiencing right now is completely normal. And once you understand what's happening inside your brain, it becomes much more easier to reverse. To understand why, we need to start with one important principle of neuroplasticity. Before the vacation, you spend months paying attention in classes, solving problems, taking notes, and building deep mental framework. Then the vacation arrived. You did not stop training your brain. You simply trained it differently. You spend more time scrolling, more time watching videos, more time consuming information than actively thinking about it. The brain does not care whether an activity is helping you grow or holding you back. It simply becomes better at whatever it does. If you repeatedly practice deep thinking, those neural networks strengthen and deep thinking becomes easier for you. If you repeatedly practice rapid scrolling and constant stimulation, your brain rewires itself to become more comfortable with those activities, and over time what happens? Your brain adapts to the environment you give it. Now the vacation is over and suddenly you are asking the same brain to sit still, focus for long periods, read challenging material, and think deeply again. That's why studying may feel harder than it used to be. The resistance you feel is not the sign that you have become lazy. It's simply the result of asking your brain to switch from one set of habits to another. To understand why studying feels difficult after a long break, we need to understand how the brain responds to rewards. Think about what happens when you use social media. You scroll, within seconds something interesting appears, a funny video, a surprising post, a new piece of information. With almost no effort, your brain receives quick spike of dopamine, the chemical messenger responsible for feeling of reward and anticipation. Your brain learns to expect a reward after reward instantly. Learning works differently. When you open a textbook, the brain has to invest effort before it receives anything in return. The first few pages may feel confusing. The concept may seem difficult. You don't feel smarter after reading a single page. You don't master a topic after solving one problem. The benefits of learning arrives much later in the form of understanding, better grades, and then you acquire valuable skills and future opportunities. And these things will motivate you later, not immediately. And that's where the challenge begins. Social media trains the brain to expect rewards quickly. Learning asks the brain to work first and receive the reward later. After weeks of getting used to immediate rewards, the brain naturally becomes impatient. So, what you sit down to study, your brain performs a simple calculation. How much effort will this require? It will ask you, and what am I getting in return? The effort feels immediate, the reward feels distant, and as a result, the brain generates resistance. That resistance does not mean you have become less intelligent. It simply means your brain has adapted to a pattern of immediate rewards and is now being asked to switch back to the delayed reward activity like learning. At this point, you might be thinking, if that is true, then how did I study so much in the last semester or last year? The answer might surprise you. Many students do not study because they are highly motivated. They study because deadlines force them to. Think about what usually pushes students to work: an exam next week, Sometimes assignment due tomorrow, the fear of falling behind, or the fear of disappointing parents or the teachers. These pressures create urgency, which triggers a release of stress chemicals like neuroepinephrine. This chemical surge acts like an alarm system that instantly activates the prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain responsible for focus, planning, and executive control. But at the beginning of the new academic year, those triggers are usually missing. There is no exam tomorrow, there is no assignment due tonight, there is no immediate crisis, and as a result, the brain remains in vacation mode. Students keep waiting for motivation to appear. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for a car to move before starting the engine. Something must happen first, and that something is action. The solution is not to force yourself to learn for 6 hours. The solution is to gradually retrain your brain for learning. Here are the practical ways to do that. First, create a goal. Do not tell yourself, I should study today. The goal is actually too vague here. Instead, you can create a specific target. For example, I will complete one section of the chapter today, or I will solve 5 problems today. A clear goal gives your brain direction. When you start to work on a topic, you have to start with small activity. One of the biggest mistakes students make is trying to restart at full speed. After a long break, don't aim for 3 hours of study. The goal is not maximum productivity. The goal is rebuilding momentum. Once momentum starts, concentration becomes easier for you. Then you have to reduce the access of phone. Many students underestimate this specific step. You cannot keep your biggest distraction beside you and expect concentration to win. Every notification competes for your attention. Every glance at your phone interrupts your focus. Put your phone in another room if possible. Make distractions difficult. Your environment matters more than you think. Prepare your study space in advance. Keep your notes ready. Remove unnecessary obstacles. The easier it is to begin, the more likely you are to start. The first few days will feel uncomfortable. Concentrating may feel weak. Studying may feel heavier than usual. Do not interpret that discomfort as failure. Your brain is simply adjusting to a new routine. The discomfort is temporary. If you stay consistent, your focus will gradually return. Let me leave you with one final idea. The brain does not become what it wants. The brain becomes what it repeatedly does. If you repeatedly practice distraction, distractions become easier. If you repeatedly practice deep thinking becomes easier for you. Right now, you do not need another productivity hack, and you do not need to wait for the next deadline. You simply need to begin. Pick one small goal, move your phone out of sight, open the book, study for a few minutes, because every study session is really helping you to move to the next level.